Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Thanks for watching this video. Today we're going to talk about perpendicular lines and their equations. So first let's start off with just describing what perpendicular lines are. So they're lines that will form a right angle when they intersect. So an example, I'll just draw one here, is really the coordinate plane. These two lines, the x-axis and the y-axis, are perpendicular because they form right angles when they intersect. So that's what it means, and that's what we're trying to work for here. And so the key here is that for lines to form a right angle at their intersections, the slopes have to be in negative reciprocals of each other. And so what a negative reciprocal is, it's the number that you can multiply by to get to -1. So let's say I have a 2. I want to find 2's negative reciprocal. Well, what do I need to multiply 2 by to get to -1? That's going to be -1/2. That would equal -1. So that is the negative reciprocal of 2. -1/2. And the other way to do it, if you don't want to think about multiplying to -1, you can swap the numerator and denominator and then change the sign. So let's take a look at 2 again. We could write it as 2 over 1. Well, if I want to swap the numerator and denominator, I have 1/2 and then change the sign. Well, it was positive, now it's negative. So that's the negative reciprocal. There's two ways to get to it, but that's really important because that's how you find the slope of the line that's going to be perpendicular. And so now the other key here that we're going to have to know is the y equals mx plus b formula, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. We're really going to be working with this. We're going to be modifying this because we have to have the slope of the original line to find the slope of the perpendicular line. So let's get right into it and see what this is really about. Alright, so find the slope of the line perpendicular to the line 4x minus 5y equals 12. So we're just trying to find the slope of the line that's going to be perpendicular. We don't need to find the whole line. So that makes it a little bit easier. So if I want to know the slope of the line that's perpendicular to this, I first need to have the slope of this line. So let's do that here. So I'm going to bring the 5y to the other side. So add 5y to both sides. And I'll get 4x equals 12 plus 5y. And I want to make it look like y equals mx plus b. So I'm also going to bring the 12 over. And I'm going to rewrite the order. So I'm going to have the 5y first just because that's how I like to write it. It's 4x minus 12. Then lastly, divide by 5. And we get y equals 4/5 x minus 12/5. Okay, so this looks good. We got the equation of the line, but now we need to get the negative reciprocal of the line because, well, we have the slope of the original line. That's the 4/5. But it wants the slope of the line that's perpendicular. So that's going to have to be, well, 4/5 is what we're starting with. And now if I want to do the negative reciprocal, I can think about, well, what do I need to multiply 4/5 by to give me -1? Or I can do the way where you just swap the numerator and denominator and then change the sign. So if I swap numerator and denominator, I get 5/4. Change the sign, it was positive, now it's negative. That is the slope of the line that's perpendicular to the line that we have. So next one. So now we want to know what is the equation of the line that's perpendicular to y equals -4x plus 5 and passes through the point 6, -3. So here they're actually giving us the slope. We know the slope equals -4 of the original, but we need the slope of the perpendicular line first before we can write the equation of the line. We have to have the slope. So the slope of our line is going to be, well, we could think, well, what do I need to multiply -4 by to get to -1? And that comes pretty quick to me. That's going to be 1/4. But if we wanted to do it the other way, we could do, well, it's -4 over 1. I want to switch the numerator and denominator. So 1 over -4. Then I'm going to switch the sign. The original was negative. This one must be positive, so it's just going to be 1/4. So both ways, same answer. So we know the slope of the line. It's going to be 1/4. But now we need to find the equation of the entire line. So let's write what we have right now. We have y equals 1/4 x plus b. We don't know what b is, but we are given a point. So that's what we have to do. We have to plug in that point and help us figure out b. So I'm going to do that here, and I'm going to get -3 because that's the y value equals 1/4 times 6 plus b. I'm going to simplify that a little bit. -3 equals 6/4 plus b. And then you subtract 6/4 from both sides. And notice that 6/4 is just -3/2. -6/4 is -3/2, which is -1.5. So it's going to be -4.5 equals b. And if you want to, you can do that using fractional subtraction. So you would get the common denominator and then subtract them. All right, so we have b and we have the slope, so then we have our line. The line is going to be y equals 1/4 x minus 4.5. This line is perpendicular to that line, and it goes through our point right here. If we wanted to, we could plug in the 0.6, -3, make sure that it's on our line, but we won't do that right now. So hopefully this makes sense, and now we got one more question. So find the equation of a line passing through the point -6, 5 and perpendicular to 3x minus 5y equals 9. So this one's kind of combining what we did in the first two questions. We first need to find the slope of the original, then the slope of the perpendicular, and then we need to make that new line go through our point that we have, -6, 5. So first step is to get this equation, make it look a little bit nicer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the 5y over, 3x, just because I like to keep the y positive if I can. And now I'm going to bring the 9 over and rewrite the order. So 5y equals 3x minus 9. So what I did is I subtracted 9 from both sides, but then I didn't want to have the y on the right hand side anymore, so I brought it to the left, but that doesn't change anything. So 5y equals 3x minus 9. Okay, and then I need to divide everything by 5 because it needs to be y equals mx plus b, so I get 3/5 x minus 9 over 5. So the slope of our original is 3/5, and so the slope of our perpendicular, what do I need to multiply 3/5 by to get to -1? I can also do the swap thing, so 5/3, switching numerator denominator, changing the sign, we get -5/3. So that is our slope of the new line. So right now we're at y equals -5/3 x plus b. And to figure out b, this is exactly what we did last time. We plug in the point that they give us. So we get 5 equals -5/3 times -6 plus b. Alright, now let's figure out, well, what is -5/3 times -6? Well, it's going to be 5 equals, and then for here we can think of it as -6/1, and then when we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across. So -5 times -6 is +30, divided by 3 times 1 is 3, plus b, and that's nice because 30 divided by 3 is just 10, so we get 5 equals 10 plus b. Then subtract 10 from both sides, we get that b equals -5. So we have b, we have our slope, so we have our line. It's going to be the line that's going to be perpendicular and satisfy our conditions is y equals -5 divided by 3x minus 5. That is the perpendicular line that we wanted, and hopefully that makes sense. So the key with perpendicular that makes it a little bit harder than parallel is the idea of the negative reciprocal. And just know, it's really important to know that what you're actually doing, you're finding the line that goes through and forms right angles. That's something you're going to need to know for some upper level classes, and it's just a good thing to get into, to know the habit of, like when you're doing parallel lines, you're finding lines that will never touch each other. When you're doing perpendicular lines, you're finding lines that will create right angles when they intersect. And really important to know the negative reciprocal, the number you can multiply by to get to -1. So hopefully this was good practice. Hopefully this makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.